the slide. That's kind of not what I was looking for. Where's my Ken? I know that you're on. And, every time I do this, it becomes a interesting expedition in Windows on my there we go, on my local computer. Uh, I've got 8,000 things going on. I got OBS, I got Zoom, I got
Yeah,
Restream, I
your
got.
frame rate's chugging. You're down to like 4 or 5 frames a second,
Is that
maybe
right?
10. Yeah.
Oh, let's hope that the stream survives then.
It looks fine to me.
My CPU shows, hey buddy, you are busy, but
You're busy.
but you are not flatlined. Um, so yeah, let's go back and show the old um, boot screen here. I'll get some CPUs back after I show this. Anyway, it's ZDTV Friday, March 3rd at 11 Eastern Time when DTV kicks over. And today is our monthly forum. So now I can close PowerPoint, get some CPU chugs back here. Let's close PowerPoint. Now I don't have to show that again. Thanks for everybody for joining. Let's see, we got Ken, we got Sean, we got Key, we got Andrew, we got Paul. It's Most House for a single topic this week, or this month, I suppose. At least a single topic provided on the actual legitimate agenda. We can always talk about other stuff. If I were to click on this, this is the one thing that I put on the agenda this week, which is around handling new IP sock file locations. And so maybe.
Could I be seeing something? Are you sharing?
The world is seeing it.
Okay, I'm just not
Let me.
looking in the right place.
No,
Okay.
no. It's a really good point. It's a really good point. I probably I gotta admit Jeff Burrow since he didn't log in, and now welcome Jeff. I should probably share it on the old Zoom anyway, because if I don't do that, then there we go. That's what I wanted to see. Okay, get this out of here. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. Let me embiggen this. All right, now we can see some peoples. Can I get everybody? Let's see. Can I get everybody? Yes, that's everybody. So now we got everybody, and we got our browser window, so we can see that at the same time. Okay. I close my Mattermost, edit that at the same time. Get some CU cycles back again. All right, whoo, here we go. So handled new IP file locations. We had a nice contribution from random internet friend for the Ziti Edge tunnel recently. Sean, do you want to cover what that PR was about and what this issue covers?
Yeah, so C797 was using Ziti Edge tunnel apparently, and was uncomfortable running it as root, which is necessary to create the ton device to integrate with the system D DNS configuration. So changes to the system unit that enables the Ziti Edge tunnel to be run without. So you specifically grant the CapNet admin, and then there's another policy kit change, which with the DNS configuration. So that lets you run Ziti Edge tunnel as non-root. He also did something which has been bugged for a long time, which is he tightened up the permissions on the IPC files that Ziti Edge tunnel creates. These socket files allow you to interact with Ziti Edge tunnel. You can do things like enroll an identity or get the status. You can do various operations through those socket files. And before this PR, those socket files were we just kind of didn't put a spotlight on that for a long time, but it is a problem. For example, if somebody had their own Ziti controller services, they could enroll their identity with somebody's Ziti Edge tunnel and influence that box. They could intercept whatever DNS host name they chose or whatever IP address they chose. clearly not something that we want to have be such an easy thing to do. Tightening up the permissions is a really good thing. And that's done by creating the socket files within a directory, and the file system permissions on that directory are what determine who can access the sockets. And this is all well and good for people who are using the systemd unit to start Ziti Edge Tunnel. If you are not doing that, then the only practical way to do it is to use sudo. And if you use sudo with this new PR, your socket file directory is going to, and the group ownership on that directory is going to be root or wheel, depending on the operating system. So that means that anybody who wants to access the files, the socket files, is going to need to be in, which is kind of it's not really what we intended. Like, we wouldn't want somebody to run the Electron UI app as root simply because that's the only way they can access the IPC sockets.
The forthcoming Electron app for Linux, and then eventually Windows and yeah.
Right. But that probably goes beyond an overview.
No, that was good. Oh, I think that was great. But until you have that UI, that root owns the sockets or the file, not the biggest issue. If you're running it with sudo, because you're just starting it with sudo and forgetting about it. But once there's the UI, the UI is going to want to access the socket, the IPC correctly, and so it becomes a problem. Yeah.
And so I had a question about this, Sean. Is this? I didn't have a chance to properly review that change. Is this using the systemd exec, like the unit config for the private temp?
I missed that. What you said. The unit config for the.
So that the temp is private to the unit using mount namespaces.
Oh, you're farther along in your understanding of this than I am. What he did was, so basically there's two aspects of things we need elevated permission for. One is to create a ton device, which is controlled by the captain capability, and that's granted through the systemd unit configuration. The other thing we need to do is use the SD bus API to add a DNS server to the ton interface. And for that, we use, or the PR uses a policy kit rule. And actually there's some hair that goes along with that, because policy kit had major versions. There's the old version, which pretty much of Ubuntu is using. And then there's the current version, which has actually been out for more than a decade. And that's what's in all of the Red Hat CentOS based distros. And those two versions of policy kit are configured differently. So we actually had some bumps to smooth out in the PR to get that sorted out. But the short answer is ton creation is handled by the systemd unit, granting capnet admin to the process. And DNS configuration is handled by a policy kit rule.
Gotcha. I think there's some other options. I'll send you some info sideband so that you can maybe take a look. So systemd has the ability to launch a process with a private temp directory in a namespace, and other units can have a directive to join that private namespace. So for example, the UI component could say, I want to join the temp namespace of the Ziti Edge tunnel running on the system.
So that would be great, I think, as long as we can be sure that everything that's going to need to access the IPC sockets is managed by a systemd unit. If you have any process that isn't covered by systemd, then it'll be basically shut off, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So this issue that is shown right here is just basically making it known that the location, the path is changing, and the new UI, which is in the Desktop Edge UI project, will need to adopt that. So, and anybody else using the IPC would need to know, which I doubt is anybody, but we do know that there are some people using it, at least in the Windows space. So I guess that's. Is there anything else to discuss about this, Sean? It's just mostly informational, right? If you cared about these particular files, they are moving, and you need to know it.
And you also need to be aware of permissions, which means hopefully that you will yourself to a group that gives you access to that directory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of like similar to Wireshark having a group.
Yeah. And we'll end up documenting all that, make it easy. And now, what was the did we come to a decision as to how it would work when somebody runs it directly with sudo and has the like our at first about maybe having the Ziti Edge tunnel stop and tell you need to add yourself to a group and do these things.
Oh, no, I don't think we would ever want to just stop because of this. We would warn and say we're not going to start the IPC sockets because
I see.
Because we would make them in a way that you'd have to be root to get at them, and that's probably not great. So if you want us to start them, you can create a Ziti user and group on your system, and we'll look for that. And when we start, we'll see, we're running as root. We have a Ziti group that we can assign to the socket file directory, and everything is great. And if you access those sockets, then you just put yourself in that group.
Makes sense.
So that was the way I was going to go. And in fact, I've got that mostly done, got that out today. The other thing that you had an idea was maybe the responsibility falls on the UI to say, hey, I can't read this file. You have to do something. I guess I prefer to do this in Ziti Edge Tunnel because there where we actually know we expect to be root sometimes, and that gives it the power to do something. The UI is just kind of, should never be run as root. So the UI is merely,
but
it's
that
just
would,
a pawn.
Would mean if I did not install things using a package manager, I wouldn't be able to use the IPC without taking those steps, right? Even if I were to run it as sudo, I still would.
Right. Because we're people look to improve their security posture, and we want to do that in a meaningful way.
To be a good example.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, any random questions other on this particular topic before we move on to the non-existent next topic? Anything? I mean, it's going to be the shortest monthly forum here. That works for me. Anything else? Any random topics that the gang wants to discuss pertaining to OpenZiti? Nothing at all? I see Russell joined. Hi, Russell.
We're all out of ideas now, Clint.
I know ideas. I think that it's a question mark as to whether or not we want to discuss them live in front of the. All right. Well then.
Yeah. That's probably the case. This is my first time joining me, so I'm not sure. I kind of wanted purpose and see what was going on before I threw out anything.
Well, you joined the meeting with the Zoom link, so that means you need to be on camera and speak. It's a requirement.
I'm sorry, sir. Half of that.
There have been 2 prior meetings, which you can go back to. We have had some external people show up, which is really cool. We even had somebody who showed up that is dramatically different than ours, like at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning for them. So that was our buddy Goose Legs, and what a trooper for that time. All right. Well, I mean, if there's nothing else that people want to talk, keep it short. And as they say, you can get 45 minutes back and consider this a short forum. This is what it's about, though. It's to be a place for discussing ideas that, we want to talk about in front of the world and in front of the large group. So if there are particular topics that want to be covered, this is the time. There will hopefully continue to be, all depends on whether I get my act together or not, monthly meetings on Discourse where I summarize the situation. You know, here's the monthly form. I should just go and make next month's now and pin it now so that people can have more than a week. I think I did it like five days ago. And yeah, that's the purpose. So cool. With that said, this could be short monthly forum. We'll see you guys.